Okay, let's dive into something really fundamental. How websites, store data right there in your browser.
Yeah, it's not some far-off server thing exclusively. A lot happens locally.
Exactly, it's browser storage,
Yep.
and we want to unpack the main ways this happens.
Right. We're talking local storage, session storage, and the classic, cookies. We'll look at what they are, how they differ, and why they matter.
Because understanding this helps you see how sites remember you, your settings, all that stuff.
And for anyone building websites, well, these are essential tools. You need to know how to use them right and safely.
Okay, so where should we begin? Local storage.
Sounds good. Local storage. Think of it as a little digital locker that a website gets inside your browser on your machine.
A locker for storing key value pairs, right?
Yeah.
Little bits of data.
Precisely. And the really defining thing about local storage is persistence.
Persistence, meaning,
You close the browser, you shut down your computer, you come back days later, that data is still there.
okay, sticks around.
It sticks around, and it's specific to the origin, the website's address, basically. So site-a.com can't peek into site-b.com's locker.
That's good. Security. How big are these lockers, typically?
Not huge, usually around 5, maybe 10 megabytes per site. Enough for settings and preferences, but, not massive files.
And how do developers actually use it? Is it complicated?
No, actually, the API is super simple. Commands like localstorage.setItem to put data in, get item to get it out.
Remove item to take one thing out.
Yep, and clear to wipe the whole thing for that site. Straightforward.
What's a common example? You mentioned preferences.
The dark mode theme is perfect. You toggle it on, the site uses setItem to save theme.dark. Next time you visit, it checks using getItem, sees your preference, and sets the theme. No clicks needed.
Makes sense. It just remembers. But any catches?
Big one. It's stored as plain text. No encryption.
Plain text.
Yeah. So rule number 1, never, ever store sensitive stuff like passwords or credit card details in local storage. It's too easy to access if someone gets access to the browser.
Got it. Persistent, simple, but plain text. Okay, what about session storage then? Sounds similar.
It is very similar in many ways.
Yeah.
Key value pairs, again, same origin restrictions, similar size limits, around 5-10 megs.
Uses the same kind of commands too. Set item, get item.
Exactly the same API, just session storage instead of local storage.
So what's the point? Why have both if they're so alike?
The key difference is lifespan. Session storage lasts only for the current browser session, meaning as soon as you close that specific tab or window, poof, the data's gone. It doesn't survive closing the browser.
Okay. So local is long-term, session is temporary, just for this visit.
Exactly, and it's usually tab-specific too. Open the same site in 2 tabs. They generally have separate session storage.
Interesting. When would you want data that just disappears like that?
Think about filling out a multi-page form online.
Right, like applying for something or a checkout process.
Yeah. As you move from page 1 to page 2, the site needs to remember what you put on page 1, but only temporarily. Right?
Until you submit or close the tab.
Precisely. Once you're done or you leave, you don't need that temporary info hanging around. Session storage is perfect for that kind of short-term, in-progress state within a single visit.
Okay, that clarifies the difference. Local for lasting settings, session for temporary flow data. Now, cookies. The old guard. How do they fit in? They feel different.
They are quite different, mainly because they directly involve the server. A cookie is a small bit of data the website server sends to your browser.
The server sends it to the browser.
Yes, and then this is crucial. The browser automatically sends that same cookie back to the server with pretty much every request you make to that website.
So they're constantly traveling back and forth.
Exactly. They live in the browser, but they communicate with the server. They can be session only, disappearing when you close the browser, like session storage.
Or they can be persistent.
Or they can be persistent with an expiration date set by the server. That's how sites keep you logged in across visits. The server sets a persistent login cookie.
And they're small, right? Smaller than the others.
Much smaller, usually around 4 kilobytes per cookie, tiny. And there are limits on how many a site can set.
What are the main jobs for cookies then, given that server round trip?
Their main job really is session management. Keeping you logged in is the classic example. Also, tracking user behavior, personalization, things where the server needs to know who you are or what you've done.
Because it gets the cookie back automatically with each request.
Right. The server sees the cookie and says, okay, this request is from this user session.
But sending data back with every single request, doesn't that add overhead, even if it's small?
It does add a little bit, yeah, especially if a site goes heavy on cookies. And there are security things to consider too.
Like what?
Well, because they're sent automatically, they can be misused in attacks like cross-site request forgery or CSRF if the site isn't careful, tricking your browser into sending a cookie to do something unintended.
Okay, so quick recap. Local storage is the persistent locker, JavaScript access only. Session storage is the temporary notepad for this visit, also JavaScript only.
And cookies are tiny IDs, server involved, sent back and forth mainly for logins and tracking.
Perfect. Understanding these three really shows you how websites manage state, how they remember things about your interaction.
Absolutely. And for developers, choosing the right one, local, session, or cookie depends entirely on what you need. Persistence, .size, .server access, security implications. It's crucial.
So thinking about all this data, your preferences, your login status, maybe temporary form data being stored right there in your browser,
Yeah, using these exact methods we just talked about.
what does that make you think about the balance? The convenience these tools offer versus your own digital privacy and security footprint online. Something to ponder.